Today, I set myself a challenge. Find a graphics card for a sub £10 price and see how well it performs. So, why don't we take a look at what I got. This is the NVIDIA Quadro 600. As a Quadro card, this was created for a professional graphics market, being released in Q4 of 2010 under the infamous Fermi architecture, and being manufactured on the 40nm process. The card sports 1GB of GDDR3 VRAM, running a TDP of 40 watts, which made it a pretty power efficient card for smaller systems, especially with its low profile. All of these older Quadros at this point have all been retired, and either sent to e-waste or eBay, all being pulled from older HP or Dell workstations to be replaced with much newer and better cards, meaning that it's really not hard to find one under £10 with them being pretty much everywhere. But does that mean this is worth picking up? Without further ado, let's put this card to the test in some benchmarks. I'm going to be pairing this Quadro with my main machine, running an i5-4590 and 16GB of DDR3 memory to eliminate any bottlenecks. First up in BeamNG Drive, the Quadro pulled off an average of 26 FPS, running at 720p lowest settings. While it isn't great, the game was still playable and enjoyable, so I'm going to give it a pass on this one. Next up, CSGO running at 720p lowest settings, where we pulled off an average of 50 FPS. While on paper this was pretty good, I'm sure the competitive gamers out there would want a higher FPS than this, but for the casual gamers, this was pretty good. Next up, CS Source running at 1080p highest settings, where we pulled off an average of 82 FPS. Overall this was excellent and the game ran fine. Next up, a new one for my list of benchmarks with Doom 2016. The game auto set itself to 480p lowest settings and pulled off an average of 31 FPS, which I can't fault if you can play the game in this resolution comfortably. Next up in Garry's mod, some Honda Jazz Mayhem running at 1080p high settings and pulling off an average of 109 FPS, which you can't fault, the game ran excellent. Next up, GTA 5 running at 720p normal or lowest settings, we pulled off an average of 38 FPS, which is definitely more than playable. Euro Truck Simulator 2 next with 1080p low settings, and we pulled off an average of 41 FPS, which is more than playable and only dipping down to 30 FPS at the worst times. And to finish us off, we have our most demanding game, which always brings our low-end components to their knees. And, well, running at 720p lowest settings, we pulled off an average of 13 FPS, so Watch Dogs 2 did not run well on this card, but that's not a surprise, it doesn't really run well on many things. So, my conclusion for this card. I am genuinely surprised that the Quadro 600 was able to keep up in a lot of games we tested. On lower end components like this, you'll always be turning their settings down, but for the £10 investment into this card, I really cannot fault the experience I got. Do I recommend buying one though? Honestly, if you're creating a system on a strict budget and want to stick to some lower end or older titles, then go ahead. As we saw, even GTA 5 was able to keep up on a card like this, which really did surprise me. I'm Owen, thank you all for watching, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.